Hey everybody, it's Trish here from the MTech team, paying homage to Peter Mayhew and Chewbacca, who we unfortunately lost today. May the 4th be with us. We know it's May Geeky, so we are going to power ahead in our geeky wonderfulness with Google. Anyways, so if you have a laptop or a Chromebook and you're ready for some fun, today is all about Google Docs. So today I'm really excited to be here because episode 2 is all about Google Docs. And Google Docs can seem this sort of boring word processing tool. Maybe it's used just for typing or for good copies, but we actually have an opportunity to be able to make some really interactive, engaging content using some tips and tricks with Google. Now, if you're brand new to Google, just look at the bottom of this website page where we do have some getting started tips for you. We also have an entire learning on demand course for literacy every day that will take you through step by step how to use Google Docs and what's available to you. That was created by the amazing Danny Moss, that's part of the MTech team. And as well, we've got some featured templates and resources for you. So anything that I'm talking about today, you're going to see the templates added below. And in addition, we're going to see those really great add-ons. And so today we're going to talk about in Google Docs how we can create interactive checklists, how we can do some collaboration, how we can use Google Drawings to be able to supercharge our Google Docs. And as well, we're going to look at some really fun strategies like some Star Wars emoji stories, blackout poetry, and a little bit of choose your own adventure. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get started with that basic Google Doc. We're going to look at some of that collaboration and we're going to get going. Now, I just want to give a massive shout out to everybody who's joined us today. We had 243 people yesterday and we're already up to 287. And we have people joining us not just from Edmonton Catholic Schools. We have people here from China, from France, from Fort McMurray, from Edmonton Public Schools. So hello to everybody and welcome to our adventure. If you think that this is fun and valuable, feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues because the more of us learning together, the better. So what I recommend, if you'd like, is you can follow along to this video by doing some hands-on activities yourself. So feel free to grab your Chromebook or your laptop, open up a Google Doc, and let's get started with some of that fun. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm looking at one of those basic Google Docs, and in here we have a math task that I'm going to ask students to do. The first thing I want to show you how to do is how we can create a collaborative environment for students to be able to work together with their peers. So perhaps I've assigned this Google Doc in the Google Classroom for my students, and we're going to be covering Google Classroom in another episode. But for now, what students can do is they can click the share button and they're able to type the email addresses of whoever they want to be able to collaborate with so that they're equal co-editors on this particular document. What's nice here is I have an interactive checklist that I would like students to be able to use together as they work in their group. One of the things that we can do is we can use the bullet points in order for students to be able to know what they've completed and haven't. And so I can select this particular list that I have for things that I'd like my students to do, and I can make this a bulleted list using the checkboxes. What the students can do is as each member of the group completes a task, they can simply select that particular checkbox, right-click on it, and check it off, which makes a great way for the students to be able to see what they've accomplished as well as for teachers to be able to keep track of where the particular groups are in their journey. Now in here, I want to be able to have students be able to look at what strategies they're using in math. One of the things and one of the updates that I really love about Google Docs is we can now insert Google Drawings. Not only the new Google Drawings that we've always been able to insert, but I can use existing Google Drawings that I have in my Drive. I'm going to go to Insert, Drawing, and I no longer just have to pick New. I can choose from Drive. In here, I can search for that particular drawing that I'm looking for that I created, and I have Farmer Brown's Adventure. You have the opportunity to be able to link it to the source so that editors can update the drawing, or I can simply insert it unlinked. Now I have that drawing with the question and the images right there in my Google Doc for my students. Now in this particular case, I want students to be able to use this drawing in order to be able to solve the problem of how many different animals and different legs are in different pens. And I want to know what strategy they used in order to solve this. Students can simply type their strategy right here in the Google Doc, or we know that under the Tools menu, they can voice type their strategy, being able to communicate just as simply with their voice, including punctuation, right here in the doc. You can set it for multiple languages, and you simply click to speak. Once I have my cursor where I want it to go, I can click the microphone, and I can start to talk about my strategy, period. Perhaps I used manipulatives, and I lined them up in circles, period. I can use my voice to talk about what I've learned without the limitations of what I can type or what I can write, period. You can see how quick this is, and it's really nice for students who are perhaps hesitant writers to not be limited by what they can do in the doc. Another thing students can do, if you're a district that enables read and write for Chrome, is students could also perhaps select that particular question that I have, and they can insert what's called a voice note, where they can record their voice up to 1 minute, multiple places in the document. My strategy was to be able to take manipulatives and to put them in 3 different circles. I had to imagine the different legs of the different animals in each pen. They can go ahead and they can insert that particular voice note, and it attaches itself as a comment on the side of the Google Doc that is available to all of the different editors and viewers. In this case, that would be the collaborators of the students in the Google Doc, as well as the teacher who has access to this in the Google Classroom. When the students hover over it, they simply have a play button. My strategy. So it's a really nice way to be able to have this be very interactive with some built-in assistive technology. So it's such an amazing way to have students be able to work together as well as have some visuals and those different things built in. Now, I also like to make something called a hyperdoc. Hyperdocs are a really exciting way to be able to create almost like a choose your own adventure and self-paced learning activity that's all contained within a doc. Now, there are some really amazing resources to help you learn about what a hyperdoc is. Now, one of those includes the Hyperdoc Handbook, which is a great book created by Lisa Highfill, Kelly Hilton, and Sarah Landis right here. But they have a really fantastic website that not only shows you the different templates and how to do a hyperdoc, as well as they have something called Teachers Give Teachers, not teachers pay teachers. This is teachers collaborating and sharing those Google Docs that they've created. And you're going to see that resource below underneath this video so that you can start to share. It will ask you to be able to sign up, but there's no expectation to pay, and there's no Hyperdoc police saying you have to share before you can find one. So I'm going to show you that basic technique of how to be able to create a Hyperdoc simply using a table within Google Docs and some simple images and links. Now, I'm also going to be sharing with you a couple of Hyperdocs that were created by our Google Ninjas here in Edmonton Catholic Schools. Google Ninjas is a really exciting program where we have teachers, everyday teachers, coming for a deeper level of PD where they really want to get geeky with certain tools, and in this case, Google. And so I have a couple of Google Ninjas that were able to create for us some different Hyperdocs for their class. So let me show you what they've made. So this is a Hyperdoc created by our Google Ninja, Christy McCoy, and she's talking about the trees and forests that's found within our grade 6 program of studies, and talking about trees, what are they good for? And here you can see that she's created a doc that has a simple table put in it, and within that she has multiple different questions, YouTube videos, and web links for students to be able to self-pace through this particular exploration. Another Google Ninja, Lacey Kelly, created one for our recent Alberta election 2019, complete with what's the slogans, how do we vote, a place for students to be able to insert their understanding and their thinking, and even simple images for them to be able to complete their understanding and demonstration of learning of what they know about the democratic process here in Alberta. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through how do we create something like this, and it's done with a couple of easy steps. We're able to simply insert a table, insert images, and insert links. And now students are able to self-pace through this activity. So here you can see my place value game board that I've created for students. How I started was just with a simple blank Google Doc. Now that I have my Google Doc, one of the things that I'd like to begin with is simply putting a table where I'm going to organize my content. I can go ahead and I can insert that table, based on whatever amount of activities I'd like students be able to do. Now the table looks like it's an odd size, but we can go ahead and we can create some spaces between all of the different squares that are available to us within this doc, simply by just hitting the return key. Now, I do have some availability within Google to be able to select my table, and I can go ahead and I can change the different border weight of that table so that the lines stand out a little bit more. I can even change the border color of what I would like those lines to look like. Now within this, I can start to put some text and some content. Perhaps I want students to be able to know a little bit more about place value. I can simply tell them, watch this video to learn about place value. Now what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to insert a link. I can do this a couple of ways. I can insert the link onto the text, or I can also insert an image. I do like images in my hyperdocs because it allows students to be able to interact with the content with a visual cue. When I go ahead and I'm inserting images, I have the option to be able to search the web, put something from my drive, my photos, my URL, or even use my camera. In this case, I'm going to search the web for a Creative Commons copyright-free image of place value. It opens up an Explore menu right beside you in your right-hand toolbar so that you can simply drag it into your Hyperdoc, which is really nice. So I can look here and see what kind of things for place value that I'd like to be able to pull over for my students. All they have to do is simply drag it over and drop it. It'll insert it into my chart. Now, if I happen to have a great YouTube video that I'd like students to be able to use, be able to watch, I can copy that link, and when I go back to my Hyperdoc, I simply select the text or the image that I would like to hyperlink. You can say Insert Link. There's a quick link here if I select my image and I go ahead and I can go ahead and just click the link icon, or you can use the shortcut Control-K. You paste in the link, and now you have yourself an interactive document. What's great about this is you can create the content so that students have some things that they can go through and do, but as well you can leave some space for students to be able to respond to you. So that's not only a place for them to consume information, but as well they can contribute and collaborate and create that information. And because you've assigned this perhaps in your Google Classroom, you have access to it from the beginning. When my students are creating or completing their understanding in a Hyperdoc, I like them to be able to fill in the square to show they've completed it. So when I'm looking at the student work in my Google Classroom, I have a quick at-a-glance view to see that they have it done. Let me show you what I mean. As each student finishes their choice board, what I have them do is they're able to select the cell that they want to be able to fill, and they're able to use the paint bucket in order to fill it. So here they'll select this cell, paint bucket. Now I know they've done it because they've highlighted it yellow. All right, so now I'm going to take you through a couple of fun templates I have that I've attached for you below just for students to be able to love being able to writing and putting things in Google Docs. Now I have for you an emoji story, not just any emoji story, but a Star Wars emoji story. It doesn't have to be Star Wars. You can do this with any of your different emojis, but it is a bit of a higher level thinking task for students to be able to tell a complete story simply using emojis. It's also a great strategy for your English language learners who perhaps don't have some print-based experience in order to tell a story, but they still have the conceptual understanding, and now they can use some images. One extra little piece I like to do is when students create those emoji stories, I do like to have them screen record or voice record what that story is after they've made it with emojis. So let me show you the template I have for you today. Here I have for you a Star Wars emoji story, and what you can see is that it's a simple rebus. A rebus is just a story that has words and pictures. So they're able to copy and paste the different emojis that I have here. Here I have a whole bunch of sample Star Wars emojis. They can copy that emoji simply by right-clicking and say copy, or they can use the shortcut Control C. And what happens is they're going to be able to paste it in the line of their story in what makes sense. Perhaps I'm going to tell a story about Chewbacca today. You can also have different emojis simply by using the insert feature. We forget that special characters are available. You can say insert, and you can go ahead and choose special characters. And one of the options for you is not only symbols, but you can change that to emoji. And now students are able to go through and find those particular emojis that they'd like to be able to put together in all sorts of topics to be able to tell a different story. Another strategy I love is our highlighter tool. Often we think of the highlighter tool simply as a study feature, being able to point out important words. Now, that is a very great strategy, but I like to do something called blackout highlighting. I use this for a couple of different reasons. One of the things I'm going to show you right now is how we can create blackout poetry. This is a strategy where we find keywords in a piece of writing, whether that's a newspaper or perhaps a piece of text, and we're creating poems by omitting other words. I can also use the blackout highlighting strategy in order for students to learn how to highlight keywords and main information and leave out the rest. We're kind of getting rid of the dark side. Another thing I like to do is to create our own Mad Libs, a little bit of interactive fun for students when they're thinking of creativity and writing. So let me show you what the blackout highlighter tool looks like in the case of blackout poetry. Now, what I've done is I've created a hyperdoc for blackout poetry that includes a YouTube video and some instructions, as well as a place for students to be able to complete their work. Now, I will point out that the excerpt that I've chosen is from Alice in Wonderland, which is a copyright-free book that's now available online, and I was able to use that for students to be able to create this. You can absolutely do this with no tech as well, simply using Sharpie markers and a page out of a book and a newspaper. But let's face it, we're doing a little geeky Google, may Google be with you, so that's why I've done a digital version. So let's see what this looks like. So this is my hyperdoc for blackout poetry. You can see here that I have a YouTube video for students to learn about what blackout poetry is, as well as some information about what it is. I have some examples for them. And then I have an excerpt where I would like them to use the highlighter tools in order to omit the words, as well as they can use a different highlighter tool to keep the ones they want. What I suggest is students go ahead and they highlight those words they want to keep, and then they're going to use their blackout tool. How I highlight something is I simply select the word that I want to be able to highlight, and I choose my highlighter tool and the color I want. In this case, I'm going to just simply start trying to keep some words that I want to be able to have within my poem, and the rest can be made black. This will help students to know what it is they want to keep, and they can change this to no highlighter later. Now I can go through and I can just create the black space that I want so that I now have blackout poetry. I can go through and get rid of the rest and create a beautiful piece of art. Now I'm going to show you how you can create a choose your own adventure simply using headings and links in a hyperdoc or any doc. So in this case, I have students who are able to write a story in a Google Doc and then use those headings so that they can make a choose your own adventure. So if this happens, go to this page. If this happens, go to this page. Now this idea comes from the amazing Eric Kurtz and his website called Control-Alt-Achieve, which I've referenced below. So I'm going to show you a story he shared with us called Dragon Quest, and you can see the template below. Here's how it works. In this template, what he has done is I'm able to have different pages. When I can take the title of that page, instead of having it being called normal text, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change that to a heading. Now what I can do is I can have things linked to that heading. So as I'm reading about my story, best of luck, perhaps right here, I want to link best of luck. When I create that link, one of the things that's going to pop up is the word headings. So any heading you've created in this document, you can create a link to. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say page 1 and apply. Now if students were able to create their story and they were to click best of luck and go to that heading, it will zip them down to that part of the particular story. This is also an amazing strategy as a study tool to be able to organize your thoughts and your different types of information that you have perhaps throughout a unit. All right, now we're gonna have some geeky fun because it wasn't geeky enough. I mean, really, I'm wearing a Chewbacca mask in my kitchen. But what I'm going to show you is a few add-ons. Now, what add-ons are is they're little pieces of programs that are written for a particular app that basically does what the app can't do. And so you can find add-ons for Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides. You're going to see them all month. And I have 3 really fun add-ons that are engaging and exciting for students within Google Docs. So we're going to talk about some fun text. We're going to use my Google Home speaker, and I'm going to show you how we can have a little fun with a word cloud. So let's see some examples of these add-ons. Now, add-ons you can find simply with the Get Add-ons portion of your Google Docs, but I've also included links for them for you below so that you can install them easily. The first one I'm going to show you is a word cloud generator. Now, word clouds are really fun opportunities for students to be able to create a bundle of artistic words based on a concept. I love to use word clouds in content literacy because it takes those key words and information and makes it visually accessible to students. And so for this particular case, I have the word cloud generator add-on and I've installed it. Now, if I was inside my Google Doc, you'll see the add-on menu. You can see I have a lot of different add-ons, but this particular one, we're going to be launching our word cloud generator. I'm going to go ahead and I can choose from classic and modern. There's lots of different styles. And what it's going to do is it's going to open up a panel on your right-hand side that has a different word cloud for you. You can go ahead and you can make it downloadable. You can even refresh it. And you can see those different options available to you. So now in this particular case, I can right-click it to copy or save the image. I'm going to copy the image and I can go ahead and I can paste that right here within my Google Doc. And now students can be able to see those great vocabulary words that was found within their scientific information. Fun text is another just fun add-on. It allows students to be able to create almost like a Geronimo Stilton style information within some paragraphs. So here I'm going to have a paragraph about the importance of trees, and now students can go through and they can select particular text they would like to stand out in a fun way, hence fun text. So let's take a look at that paragraph. So again, I went and got the fun text add-on that's going to go ahead and show you the different types of text that you can do where you can apply some fun effects such as rainbows and growing and upside down. And I go ahead, I'm going to open up my importance and value of trees. And now what I can do is I can select some specific text. Perhaps my goal is to go ahead and choose maybe some of those key words that I want to be able to stand out. You're going to go to your add-ons and you're going to choose your fun text. And now you have the opportunity to change all types of different parts of your text. What's great about this is if you don't like something, you can simply use the undo buttons that's found in Google, as well as the shortcut Control-Z. So now I can change my text color to rainbows. And perhaps I can go ahead and I can change my font size. Maybe I want it to be growing. We can see that pump right up. If that's too much for me, Control-Z, I can say, actually, I want to make my fun text font size. Maybe I just want to make it wobbly. And so we can see some of those really fun features come out. I do love this to make keywords stand out for students, as well as creating those Geronimo Stilton style stories. Now the last one I want to show you involves my very friend, my droid. I should have dressed it up a little bit R2-D2. In this case, it's my Google Home. I love my Google Home. Now, just so you know, if you're an Edmonton Catholic School teacher, Google Homes do not work in your classroom. So I'm showing you this just for some fun, if you do have this at home, or perhaps some of your students do. But there is this really cool voice experiment from Google called Story Speaker, where basically there's a template where you can create your stories and then your Google Home will read your stories to you. So if any of your students happen to have Google Homes at home, they could create some of these stories and then go home and have their droid read it to them. So let me show you the very fun add-on and what it looks like. So you can see here, I installed the Story Speaker add-on, and it just comes from experiments with Google. So what I've done is I've created a bit of a story for you, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay, so here I have my story called The Pig Monster. I'm going to go to my add-ons, and I'm going to say Story Speaker, and I'm going to open it. Now, it will give you some basic templates or advanced templates, or you can simply take a story that you've done. It doesn't even require any coding. It simply uses bolded text within your story to be able to create it. And you can still have some of those choose your own adventures, like if you say left or right or yes or no. So it really makes you think about what you want to do with your story. Now I can go ahead and I can play my story, and I'm able to hear it. Okay, Google, ask Story Speaker to tell the tale of the pig monster. It's thinking.
All right, here's Story Speaker.
Okay, here is the tale of the pig monster by your name. You're standing in a forest. There are 2 roads in front of you. Do you go to the left or the right?
Left.
You hear a fearsome growling. A pig monster approaches. It eats you. I'm sorry.
So you can see how much fun that is. It's like having your very own droid. How much more Star Wars is that? So I hope you had fun in this episode. I'm trying to keep all of these different editions under 30 minutes just to be able to value your time and hopefully show you some tips and tricks. The expectation isn't to be able to do everything, but perhaps take just a little nugget of awesomeness to spread amazing educational technology here in our Star Wars universe. So thanks for watching episode 2. I'm looking forward to episode 3 tomorrow, where we're going to go through some Google Slides. And don't forget to tell your friends. So bye, everybody.